and let's check it out. 6 businesses that never fail.
Most businesses fail. The question is, how can you have a business that doesn't fail? We found 6 businesses with the lowest failure rate associated with them. This is all backed by data, because I think it's valid to be worried about having a business that fails. I mean, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, which sounds really fancy and official, 20% of U.S. small businesses fail within the first year. Then that jumps up to like 50% by the year 5, and after 10 years, 2/3 of all businesses have gone under. That's not good odds, not great odds at all. So if we actually look at the data to figure out which ones have the highest likelihood to succeed.
Okay, just from a filmmaking perspective, why would you be filming this walking under a crap ton of power lines? That just looks terrible. Why would you do that? And then put all these pretty words on top of it. You can't undo that. Like, go somewhere that's not just laden with power lines.
Then you can determine if you want to jump into those pools. I always talk about the most important decision you make is the first deal you do or the first business you start. Because if the first one fails, your likelihood of taking the risk again is incredibly diminished. This is called your recency bias. So if your recency bias is winning, that's why we want small wins, then you are more likely to go win again or take more risk. If your recency bias is losing or things that feel bad, you're less likely to continue.
Right. First off, nobody looks good on pause. Second off, this is correct in some instances. If you're losing, obviously it doesn't feel good to lose, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get back up on the horse and try again. That's just not the case. Okay? You can lose at something, you can fail at something, and that's fine. Failure is not failure, it's feedback. It just means that whatever you did, it didn't work. It doesn't mean that this thing that you're working on isn't going to work, or that you're not meant to do or be whatever it is you're going after. It just meant that that particular thing at this moment in time didn't work. Take that data and go try again a different way.
To take risk. So let's get to the data and see which businesses have the lowest "this is going to bankrupt me" potential. I got 6 right here. All right, number 1, probably won't surprise my contrarian friends, laundromats. Oh, laundromats. An amazingly low failure rate. According to Laundromats, laundromats have about a 94.8% success rate over a 5-year period. I also confirmed these numbers because Laundromats is a member of the laundromat community, so maybe they're a little...
Yeah, but do you really want to start a laundromat? I mean, really. I don't.
Biased. And the Chamber of Commerce did a study in partnership with Speed Queen where they show that they have about a 93% success rate. So somewhere in the 90s, let's call it. Again, nothing's guaranteed in business, but that's one of the reasons I talk about these laundromats like my gateway drug to business buy-in. They have a low failure rate. They're simple to understand. Quarters, machines, a little bit of a dryer, a little bit of a washer. They typically don't take millions to start or buy. And it also turns out people need to wash their clothes, even during recessions, so you have downside protection. Lastly, there's a passive component. If you do laundromats as an absentee business, you can run it remote or with very few employees or contractors. Your employees end up being your machines. So we've got a whole video on the nitty-gritty of laundromats for you, how we run them, how I started my first laundromat that I bought for $100,000 and made $67,000 on, and even how to make a laundromat be worth $3 million. That's number 1, laundromats. Number 2, rental property businesses. You know, I think it was Andrew Carnegie that said 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. More money's been made in real estate than almost all industrial investments combined. So maybe it makes sense that they have an 85.3% success rate. Why is real estate interesting, and why does it have a low failure rate? Well, one is because, again, it's a simple business with hard assets. So, you have your house. The market is really efficient. So typically your house is worth what the market says that it is. There's not a lot of room for variance there or change.
Unless it's 2008, or unless interest rates are near zero and you can buy a house for not a lot of money and a really good loan like we did in 2020. So yeah, they will fluctuate. They will 100% fluctuate. And getting into the rental space, woof. I mean, do you really, okay, do you really want to be a landlord? Because doing that is a ton of work. You're on the hook for everything. You're on the hook for all of the repairs, the maintenance. You're on the hook for the house insurance, all of it. When that tenant needs something, who are they calling? They're calling you. Doesn't matter if it's 12, 2 in the morning, a pipe breaks, they're calling you. It's your problem. Now, you can mitigate this if you want to by employing a, what do they call those? What do they call those people? Like some kind of a rental agency, basically, that takes the grunt work away and does it for you. So they'll handle, collecting rent, coordinating, getting service people over there to take care of issues, things like that. And then you can just basically collect a check. However, in doing that, your check that you collect is going to be a lot lower because you've got to not only pay for those repairs, you've got to pay for the rental agency to handle all that grunt work and headache stuff for you. So it comes at a premium. Now, real estate's not going to go away. The whole saying is land. They're not making any more of it. So real estate's always going to be a thing. But being a landowner, being a multi-property owner, it comes with a lot of risk, comes with a lot of expense. And there are ways to do it where you can do it more economically, where you can get in for a fraction of a down payment. And for that kind of education, I would recommend looking into something called Renatus. And that is basically a group of people that are already actively investing in all different kinds of real estate, and people that are coming in and learning how to do it. They have a whole education system and support structure. So if getting into real estate is really something that you want to do, I would recommend looking into Renatus and seeing if where you are has a local chapter.
You typically have monthly cash flow in the form of rental income. It's pretty easy to model because up front I have to pay X in mortgage and I have to pay Y from my renter, and here's the delta or the difference between the two. Also, interesting parts about real estate are...
But again, like I said, there's a lot more to it than that. Mortgage, rental income, repairs, maintenance, insurance, rental company taking care, property management company. That's what I was trying to come up with. Yeah, there's a lot more than just, here's the mortgage, here's my rent, and I get to keep all the difference. No, you don't.
Obviously, things like appreciation baked in, 4% a year on average, or my favorite word, leverage. This is the form of mortgages, right? So you have the ability to use somebody else's money in order to buy real estate. And then that also allows you to have tax benefits like 1031 exchanges where you sell to defer capital gains, depreciation and amortization, which basically are a different way for you to take write-offs on your taxes overall. There's also great tax benefits to being a real estate investor only. And then there's the passive component in that you could just hire a property manager. There's no such thing as free money with no work, but real estate prices are interesting if you're in the right cycle of the market. Now, right now, I think real estate's priced pretty high, but falling fast. I'm in California today. Real estate prices are down like 20 to 30% here. And you need to think about, can I qualify for a loan? Can I cover the mortgage? But this success rate is probably there for all the reasons that we talked about. Even if you're making a small percentage monthly, it's like the average rental property nets about $462 a month. So it's not going to make you a billionaire, but you probably can understand how to grow the business, how not to grow the business, and what a good deal looks like with a little bit of work.
I'm really glad she said it was in the hundreds as far as what you were going to make per month, not thousands. That's real. That's legit.
All right, number 3, self-storage facility. If you don't like the...
People got a lot of stuff. I know I got a lot of stuff. I bet you got a lot of stuff too. Do you have a storage unit? I had one for a while till we moved into our house, and Honestly, we could probably still take some of the stuff that's in our house and move it to a storage unit just to get a little bit more room. But yeah, this is a good one because it can be definitely more passive. You can work regular people hours, or you can hire people to work your regular people hours, and you can just spend your time scouting locations or buying up ones that already exist and just collecting all of that monthly rent. Yeah, this is a good one if you want to get into quote-unquote real estate but not have to deal with a bunch of repairs and maintenance and property management companies and all of that. So let's keep going.
Idea of real estate investing for multifamily, let's say, and you don't want to deal with tenants or trash and toilets, self-storage have less of those things. They have been one of the leading asset classes in real estate since 2008, and according to a few studies, one by Rhino Building, these resilient businesses have like a 92% success rate. One caveat here I would say, though, is there are a lot of these self-storage facilities. So will that 92% rate continue? I'd want to watch what's going to happen the next couple months and years, but I have plenty of friends like this guy, Nick Huber, who makes millions on absentee storage sites he lives hours away from. Here's a whole article we did on how to start and run an unmanned self-storage business. And, what's fascinating about this asset class is advances in technology make this not only possible, but pretty standard to run these things remote. So basically you have keyless entry, you have tracking systems, you have security systems, you have automated bill pay, you have all automated contracts. All of this allows people to get in and out of their units without you. Then there's the value add component, aka adding things to the business to make it more valuable and efficient. They're high with this type of asset class. It doesn't take a ton to make self-storage pretty interesting. In fact, look at what you can do if you just paint the front of your self-storage unit and what the normal increase in the property value is for that. So the phone has allowed us to have no manager on site needed in most ways. Yeah, you better. Number 4, transportation businesses. Last mile delivery. I think last mile delivery is the biggest change in our economy in the last 10 years when it comes to transportation and logistics. With e-commerce coming along, the gig economy, online platforms, it's more needed than ever to have a way to get the goods into our greedy little mitts and porches. Basically, trucking that delivers goods or people from one place to another for a fee is transportation and logistics. We have a whole article on here on how one gent turned this idea of a short distance trucking company into $2,200 a day. It's really good. But this can come in many forms, from like a full-fledged long-haul trucking business to a simple little side hustle driving for Uber on the weekends or everything in between. These businesses have a success rate about 76.4%, according to Advisor Smith. That's kind of fascinating because I thought these businesses would be more complex. Now, there is a massive difference between short and long-haul trucking or shipping food from Uber and long-haul trucking. So your results are going to vary. But on average, these businesses have a high success rate, I think, because, again, we don't have that many inputs. I'd worry about scale, given the demand for drivers, if you wanted to really create a huge empire. But as a job turned into a business, this one could be interesting and relatively low risk. You could...
See, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that because the risk is coming because of self-driving cars. This whole thing about last mile delivery, the Amazon people coming at, whenever, same day delivery, all of that is going to be going away. Well, it's not going to be going away, but it's going to be done by robot cars driving themselves. The trucking business, the long-haul trucking business, is eventually going to go away as far as having actual human drivers. This is not a sustainable business. This is something that I would recommend you not do. Or if you did want to do it, get in and get out. Have an exit strategy for 10 years. Or have a strategy to convert your fleet into autonomous vehicles. So you either get in and get out, you get in, stay in, and ride the transportation revolution. But this is not something to just dabble in. Any business is not something to dabble in lightly, but especially not this, where technology is eventually going to replace the human component.
buy a truck that's going to have an inherent value in it, a little bit of depreciation after you buy it, maybe if you buy it new, and it's your time to start with actually running the routes or having somebody else, but you don't have a lot of what's called CapEx or upfront expenses in order to run this business. And so not only does it have a relatively low failure rate, but I always am looking for how can I make sure a deal can never bankrupt me. I don't ever want to do a deal where if this one deal goes sideways, especially in the beginning, I could wipe out the past 20 years of me investing and working, and neither do you. And that's why I like these little gateway starter businesses.
Story time. All right, guys, this is kind of special because I just sold a website for $8K that I bought for about $100. It was called Grow Getters, a newsletter that talked about marketing growth. I did it just for fun with 2 friends, and it made me realize that I wanted to tell more people that you could start with small deals, you could start with large deals, but you can definitely start with online deals. So I partnered with this company, Flippa, thanks guys, about where to buy online businesses. It's my
Okay. All right. So now we're into the commercial portion. This is something that a lot of businesses have been doing lately to get around the skip this ad. They've been inserting ads and sponsorships into the actual video, which, you know, it's ingenuity. You got to do what you got to do because I hate watching ads. You probably hate watching ads too. And, you know, honestly, this is something that I'll be doing within my podcast. And if you listen to podcasts, like, what is it? 86 million people last year reported they listened to a podcast. So probably do. And I'm sure you've been noticing this trend is happening and really taking off. People are quote-unquote sponsoring themselves. And this Flippa thing is actually very interesting. I've looked at it, and you can filter it. You can set your budget as far as what you want to look into and look at. And yeah, you can do the online route, which is very popular. It's lower risk as far as CapEx, the startup fees, all of that. So let's continue and hear what she's saying here.
My favorite site to buy any sort of online business, period, full stop. That's why I'm trying to invest in them. So maybe you guys can check this out so that I could get part of this series. That'd be awesome. Thanks, Blake, CEO. Because after all, we know that 94% of startups fail. That's why I like to buy them instead of build them. And this is true on Flippa too for online businesses. You can get loans or use seller financing, although you got to put down some cash. You can have profits on day one of owning the business. You can use the cash flow of the business to fund your next brilliant idea. But instead of paying for an idea, you buy it first. So here's the link. Go check them out. There's 500,000 businesses that have been listed on Flippa. They've done billions of dollars in transactions.
Cody, you're forgetting that Flippa is also the best place to sell an online business. They even have a matching algorithm to get your business in front of the people most likely to buy. So anyone out there looking to sell or even just find out what their business is worth, check out Flippa's free valuation tool here. Anyway, back to you on stage, Cody.
Speaking of maybe my favorite intro starter business, vending machine routes. So you don't need a lot of cash. 3 to 5K, you buy a vending machine and get started, or you're super smart and industrious and you buy a used one for $800 like this. You know, I've talked ad nauseum, aka a lot, about this. And I have friends who have vending machines that vend healthy food, have, you know, normal vending machines.
Ooh, is this name dropping? I guess it might be, but all this to say that Candace Nelson has become an internet bud of mine lately, and she is the founder of Sprinkles Cupcakes. She created Sprinkles Cupcakes vending machines. Brilliant idea. She definitely made more than a few grand on that thing. I don't want to make a big deal about this, but if you do not think that red velvet cupcakes from Sprinkles are the best cupcakes out there, like, I don't know if we can be friends. I think it's unavoidable.
Once you have your vending
Well, she and I could definitely be friends because red velvet is the shit. Hands down, in my opinion, the best cupcake with some good cream cheese icing. Oh my lord. Give it to me now.
machine, couple different things you need to do for it. Find a well-trafficked location, negotiate to put it in for, as a service or for a rental fee, then fill inventory. Great little starter business. I wouldn't do it if I was a pro or wanted to make a lot of money, meaning if I wanted to make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, this business is probably really good for your first 20, 30, 50, maybe you could get to $100,000. But it's a great business to learn things like P&Ls, logistics, pricing, margins, managing a few contractors or running it by yourself. You start small, it's not going to bankrupt you, you figure out how the business works, and then you slowly expand. And this business has more than a 90% almost success rate. Then you could eventually have a bunch of them, roll them up and sell them as a group, like these companies do. So the actual success rate for a vending machine business varies from 90%, according to Drop Vending, who's in the space, or 82% success rate, according to the US Bureau of Labor. There are a slew of billion-dollar vending companies, which is interesting also because it does show that you can scale this space, although I think it'd be a hard slog. So when you combine the low failure rate, affordable startup cost, and simple operations of this business, I really like this starter business for people who want to hustle.
Yeah, and that's a very good point because it will be a hustle. You will be out there driving around, driving your route, buying your snacks, filling up the machines, collecting the cash. Yeah, it's going to be a grind, and you got to really want it. This is, in my opinion, a really good business for somebody that is young, is hungry, and they've got a little bit of that capital saved up, maybe from working at McDonald's or Subway or whatever low-paying job that they have, but they want to be an entrepreneur. And this is a good way to do it and to get into it. And again, I think it's the best move for somebody that's young because you're going to run. You're going to be running, especially if you want to grow it. So, yeah, take that with a bag of chips.
Okay, number 6, senior care centers. So,
holy macaroni, I can't believe she went there. Okay, number 1, I know somebody personally, very, very close to me, that has a senior care center. It's an assisted living home. It's a private residence. They have 5 residents, and they make no money. Basically, they basically just break even every single month, and it's a turnaround nightmare with employees. I don't know. I'm curious to see what she says, but just my real life experience, knowing this person and seeing, how this place is run. It's run well. It's managed. These people are taken incredible care of, but it's just not a moneymaker. So I'm really curious to see what she says about this.
Oh, this one surprised me. I didn't realize that senior care centers had such a low failure rate, but actually it kind of makes sense.
Well, the failure rate, yes, I definitely agree with, because this is the same thing that's going on with the retirement industry and the insurance and annuity space right now. So many people are at or nearing retirement, and they've got these assets that they want to get out of the volatility of the market and put them into safer things like annuities, so they can still grow their nest egg, but also have it benefit them and pay them that lifetime income, right? And there's a huge boom of this happening. So yeah, it's got a very low failure rate. And another reason for this is because families are more spread out than ever. You've got, take my family, for example. Mom and dad are back in Kansas. I'm here in Arizona. My sister's in Texas. We're all spread out. And so when things happen, it's going to be tough for me and my sister to be there all the time to take care of the parents. And that's why these assisted living homes are so popular, and they do have a low fail rate. But man, can they be a financial drain and an emotional drain too for the people that run them and manage them. But let's continue seeing what she says.
for a lot of reasons. One, government subsidies, state subsidies, city subsidies that basically allow people to run senior care centers like this with some help from the government. Two is obviously the demographics in the US are changing. There's a lot of older people, less young people, and they need more care. Now, originally when I thought of these ideas, I was like, what are some beginner ways to do this? You can't buy, I mean, this property right here costs tens of millions of dollars. You probably can't buy that when you're just starting out. But I didn't realize that there's a ton of little houses where they actually rent a house and get it zoned properly for senior care.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. Having a house that you rent it and you operate your assisted living home, your care home business out of it. That's exactly the situation that this person that I know very well is in and what they do. Let's continue.
Or alternatively, buy a house and get it zoned or the right certificates to be able to have assisted living there. So that's why this idea is actually kind of interesting.
There's definitely oversight here and certifications and zoning that you have to be aware of, but you don't have to have the millions I thought you did. So there you have it. 6 businesses with the least likelihood to blow up in your face, at least according to the data. So which businesses do you guys want us to cover next?
Okay, well that was interesting. 6 businesses, and I think only really 2 of them would I recommend anybody really get into. Number 1 being real estate, number 2 being the vending machine thing. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could do the laundromat thing too, if that interested you, if you wanted to get into that and live that life. And oh, and the storage. Okay, so now we're at what, 4? 4 out of 6. Okay, fine. 4 out of 6. Not bad. Not a bad ratio. But the trucking thing, the last mile delivery, I don't know. I wouldn't do it personally. I wouldn't get stuck in that. The senior living thing, nah, pass. Hard pass. Seeing what I've seen and just watching, again, the financial, the emotional drain that thing has caused. I just would avoid it like the plague. These people need care. They do. But getting out there and starting those places, it's real rough. It's real rough, and you got to be real committed. So yeah, 6 businesses that have a very low failure rate. That's my opinion. That's my reaction. If you guys liked this video, go ahead and give it a like, give it a thumbs up, share it around, and I will do more of these reacting business videos as we move forward. Peace. See you in the next one.